Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is June. I've been so excited for this one. So this is my very first Christmas dish video, and I had created my recipe for great vegan mashed potatoes and gravy, but I decided to make it special and exciting. So I came up with this Christmas tree idea. My goal was to make it a fun dish to make with your friends and family. It's so easy to make. Kids are gonna love the tree made of potatoes. Make sure you stick around till the end because I'm gonna show you how to make the best and richest ever vegan gravy. Anyways, let's get started with the mashed potatoes, shall we? I'm using about 6 medium-sized Yukon Gold potatoes. You can have a combination of different types of potatoes. Like you can add Russell potatoes, which are great if you like it more smooth, soft, and fluffy. But this time I'm building a tree, so I'm going with only Yukon Gold potatoes. They've got the ideal starch content. They're also richer in flavor, so these make them the perfect choice of potato for this dish. And I've got some vegan butter and white miso paste. This is gonna add so much umami to the mashed potatoes, some vegetable broth, and finally some coconut milk. Make sure it's unsweetened. It's still got the natural sweetness of the fruit, and it's also got the fat, so this is gonna mimic the dairy and make the mashed potatoes feel and taste creamy. So I have adequate vegetable broth in the pot. You can just use water instead. I just used a bouillon cube and that's why it's simmering, but you want it to be cold or at room temperature for mashed potatoes, so I'm gonna cool it down. And while the broth is cooling, peel the potatoes. Make sure you wash them beforehand. You don't want any dirt on them. You can make some potato skin chips if you like. Now change your sweater and cut the potatoes into equal sized pieces. Make sure they're the same size so they'll cook evenly. The smaller you cut them, the faster they'll cook through. My vegetable broth is cooled. Now just like pasta, it is crucial to heavily salt the liquid, water or broth. You want the potatoes to really absorb the salt, so they'll be seasoned evenly. Dump all the potato pieces into the pot, and then turn the heat on. And I'm gonna let them simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now get a separate dirty pot, and I'm gonna add the vegan butter and white miso paste. Alright, come on. Oh. Let's do that again. There we go. And in the pot, I'm gonna melt them over low heat. They're gonna separate, but that's okay. And now add some coconut milk. Look how creamy that is. And mix well. It should taste super rich. After about 15 minutes, check if the potatoes are done with a fork or knife or chopstick. Use whatever you've got in hand. If it goes through or breaks the piece apart, they're ready. Drain the water. Now, if you use veggie broth, drain it into a bowl. I'm gonna save and use this starchy broth for the gravy. Now, the key for great mashed potatoes is to not make them watery or soggy. Wait until there's no water dripping from the potatoes, and then put them back into the pot. I'm gonna stir them around in the pot over low heat until they're dry. Turn the heat off. Then I'm gonna mash the potatoes with the potato masher. You can use a potato ricer if you want it softer and fluffier. But please do not use a food processor. You don't want mushy potatoes, you want mashed potatoes. Don't forget to add a lot of black pepper to the butter and miso mixture. Now pour it on top. And mix well. My potatoes were a bit too dry, so I added some more coconut milk. If they're crying for some extra seasoning, adjust now. When they're soft and creamy, the mashed potatoes are done. I have mine more dry than usual because I'm building a tree. Alright, next, let's move on to the gravy, shall we? Now, most vegan gravies are made with flour and miso and soy sauce, and that's boring. Some of the richest meat-based gravies are made with the super dense juice from the cooked meat. And this time, we're doing all that with vegetables. It's gonna be so rich and full of umami. So for the gravy, I've got maitake mushrooms. You can use any mushrooms, but I'm going with maitake because it's got lots of umami and the earthiness, if you will. I think shiitake mushrooms would be great too. Now, celery is a major ingredient for veggie broths. It releases umami when cooked. Carrot for some sweetness. I've got 1 red onion, 2 cloves of garlic, and leeks for the basic aroma. You can use a shallot instead, and you don't have to use all of these. I've got soy sauce, optional vegan butter, white miso paste, again for some rich umami, and some all-purpose flour. The flour is gonna act as a binding agent. And with all the vegetables, you shouldn't be able to taste the flour at all. But you can use cornstarch instead if you want to make it extra thick. And finally, red wine. I've got this cheap one. It doesn't matter really. This is optional. It's just gonna add some richness to the gravy. And the preserved starchy vegetable broth from earlier. First, I'm gonna shred all the maitake mushrooms by hand. They're super soft. And roughly chop the vegetables. But the pieces should be small enough to be cooked through. And here's the fast and easy way to peel garlic. Just get a container and put the cloves in it and just shake it super violently. And now you have beautifully peeled garlic. Now all the veggies are prepared. Now let's make the gravy. Get a pot ready. When it's heated, add some oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil. Dump all the onions, leeks, and garlic into the pot. Cook them over medium-high heat until the onion is nearly caramelized. And I'm gonna add the carrot first as it requires more time to cook. Then add the mushrooms and celery and stir well. Now I'm not gonna add any salt because basically everything else I'm gonna add later is salty. So I'm just gonna cook the veggies until soft and fragrant. This is already smelling incredible. The veggies are releasing all the umami and aroma. Now when they're cooked all the way through, add the flour, white miso paste, and soy sauce. Keep in mind, miso and soy sauce are both salty, so don't add too much. Add some vegetable broth and a touch of the red wine. Mix and deglaze the pot. Both the flour and the starchy broth thicken up the gravy. Finally, add some herbs. I have dried thyme, bay leaves, and fresh rosemary. And add some vegan butter, black pepper. The last thing you want to do is adjust the thickness of the gravy by adding more of the vegetable broth or the flour. The less you add, the better, because that would mean the flavor of the veggies would be more dense. And I'm gonna let it cook a bit longer and reduce. The gravy is done. Strain the gravy. Here you have the richest vegan plant-based gravy ever. Now, don't waste any of the vegetables. In fact, you have just now made yourself a lunch for tomorrow. This delicious, how do you call that? It's super rich and tasty, herby, and nutritious. My first impression of it was, it tasted like turkey gravy, and that is because of the maitake mushrooms, which have a chicken-like flavor. Now you know what time it is. Christmas tree building time. But before that, if you're enjoying this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. This is my 4th video on this brand new channel, and some support would be appreciated. So I've got the mashed potatoes here. Use any toppings or garnishes you want. I've got some regular broccoli florets that I just microwave steamed, and smaller broccoli florets, cherry tomatoes, and red and yellow bell peppers that are diced and roughly cut, green peas, some mixed seeds, nuts, and dried berries, and finally, the vegan gravy. Now, let's build a tree. you have the vegan mashed potato Christmas tree and the best ever vegan gravy.